Okay, so you want to stay informed, but let's face it, there's a lot out there. We get it.
Yeah, wading through everything can be tough.
So today we're doing a direct plunge, a deep dive into a really, really important story.
Mhm.
It's about, well, the devastating situation of a Ukrainian journalist. She was looking into prisoners' torture in occupied territory.
And she became a victim herself,
Yeah,
tragically.
exactly. So to understand this event, we're using a transcript, right, from NPO Radio 1.
That's right. It gives us some crucial context and, importantly, different perspectives on what happened.
Our mission here really is to get to the heart of this, understand what it means for journalism and why, honestly, why you need to pay attention to this.
Absolutely. So where do we start?
Well, let's talk about her work. This journalist, she was Ukrainian, and apparently the only one still doing active research right there in the occupied areas.
Which is already incredible, just that fact. And her focus,
Yeah,
very specific.
yeah. Prisoners, torture, I mean, incredibly difficult, dangerous subjects.
And that dedication, sadly, put her directly in harm's way. She was captured.
And the discussion we're looking at suggests, well, it strongly suggests she likely experienced the very horrors she was trying to document.
Yeah. Which leads to the discovery of her body. And the details there are, well, they're shocking.
They really are. She was returned to Ukrainian authorities, but as part of a prisoner exchange.
Among the living, essentially. Her body was found among people being released.
It's almost impossible to picture. And then there's this other layer.
The body bag.
Yeah, the body bag she was in was mislabeled.
It really looks like her remains were just sort of added to the list.
Yeah.
Last minute.
So then the grim task of DNA testing
Yeah.
to confirm it was her.
And she was young. Late 20s.
Just devastating. And the information about how she died, it's deeply disturbing.
The transcript mentions signs of electroshock on her feet.
I mean, what does that even... It tells you so much about the methods being used. It's horrific.
And the mutilation.
Yeah, significant mutilation. The transcript says organs were missing.
Which sounds like a deliberate attempt, right? To hide how she actually died.
Pretty clearly, yeah. Obscure the cause of death.
Yeah.
It's just awful to think about.
And then you think about the courage it took for her to even be there.
Especially knowing that her own team, her editors,
The editorial team.
they apparently advised her not to go. They told her it was too dangerous.
And this wasn't even the first time.
No. Sources say she'd actually been captured once before this.
Wow. So what kind of resolve does that take to go back after that?
Yeah, it's immense dedication. Hard to fathom, really.
But the discussion in the transcript, it doesn't shy away from the tough questions either.
Right. There's another journalist in the program.
And he basically asks, is any single story worth dying for?
It's a stark question. He says he probably would have listened to his editors, taken their advice.
Which makes you pause. It really does.
It forces you to think about that line, doesn't it?
Yeah, that calculation journalists in these zones have to make constantly. Reporting the truth versus, well, personal safety.
The risk and the potential cost is profound.
Which kind of leads us into the work of this organization, Forbidden Stories.
Right. The name itself feels very relevant here.
It really does. And their mission is striking. They work to continue the investigations of journalists who've been murdered worldwide.
Their slogan, killing a journalist is not killing the story. That's powerful.
Incredibly powerful. It's a direct statement of resistance.
And in this specific, tragic case, Forbidden Stories took on the job of trying to reconstruct her work.
Which must be incredibly challenging, trying to piece together investigations under such circumstances.
Absolutely. But doing that, continuing her work, it's such a strong message against silencing the truth with violence.
It really is. It's a vital form of pushback.
So the conversation in our source material, it then pivots a bit. It talks about us, the public.
How we react, or maybe how we don't react sometimes.
Exactly. This constant flood of bad news. It's easy to get, numb, desensitized.
Yeah, and the transcript really flags that danger, the risk that these terrible events just fade into the background noise.
So telling these stories, even the really disturbing details, it's essential. It stops them from just becoming another headline.
It's a way to fight against that desensitization. And the source makes a point about why those specifics matter, doesn't it?
Yes. We need to stay angry, in a way, to resist just scrolling past. Because this isn't just one isolated case.
Right. The discussion links her story to this broader pattern, this ongoing issue of torture, of murders in prisons in Russia, elsewhere.
It's a systemic thing?
And that numbing effect you mentioned, the transcript gives a good example. It says it's one thing to hear someone was electrocuted through their feet,
Right. It sounds clinical almost.
but it's another thing entirely to actually imagine that happening to your feet.
That visceral connection.
Hmm.
It breaks through the detachment. It forces empathy.
Exactly. Or, as they also mention, imagining a mother receiving her daughter's body mutilated like that.
That emotional weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to ignore. So these difficult, awful details, they actually serve a purpose. They keep us from tuning out.
Keeps it human, which is crucial.
So thinking about the investigation, this forbidden stories collaboration, how does that actually work? What does the source say?
Well, it sounds like it's basically a group, an international group that agrees to pool resources, essentially.
Okay.
And they likely figure out who's best placed, who has the best sources in a specific region to take the lead on certain parts.
Which makes sense, especially when you're investigating in dangerous occupied areas. Witnesses are at huge risk.
Huge risk. It's incredibly sensitive work. And this idea of collaboration, the transcript brings it up more broadly in journalism, too.
Oh, yeah. How so?
They give an example, actually, two Dutch newspapers, Trouw and NRC, working together on a story, something about youth football academies.
Interesting. Competitors working together.
Yeah, and the transcript acknowledges it can be, a bit awkward at first. Competitors sharing notes.
I can imagine.
But ultimately, the point is, it can lead to better results. Streamlined work, stronger reporting. Sometimes it's just practical.
And is this becoming more common, this kind of thing?
Apparently so. The transcript mentions Investico, how they partner with lots of different outlets, Argos, Trouw again, even Tim Hoffman's show, Booze.
Wow. Okay. So quite varied partnerships.
Definitely shows a trend towards pooling resources, sharing expertise.
What are the upsides, you think, besides just stronger stories?
Well, you get different perspectives, maybe different tones, reach wider audiences.
But challenges, too, I guess.
Oh, for sure. Working with unfamiliar people, figuring out how to share sensitive sources, it's definitely a balancing act.
Right. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, let's think about the key takeaways.
We've definitely heard about incredible courage. This Ukrainian journalist risking everything for the truth about prisoners, about torture.
Yeah. And the horrific circumstances of her death. These brutal details that just hammer home the barbarity that happens in conflict under oppression.
It's a stark reminder. And then there's the work of organizations like Forbidden Stories.
So vital. Their commitment to making sure these stories don't die with the journalist. That's huge.
It really is. And maybe the biggest takeaway for us, for you listening, is the importance of staying engaged, of resisting that numbness, that desensitization to violence and injustice. We need to feel the empathy.
Because her individual story, as tragic as it is, it connects to this much larger global fight, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The persecution of truth tellers, the struggle to keep their voices, their stories alive.
So maybe here's something to really chew on. When you face these huge, overwhelming threats, what's the actual power of one person's courage, one individual act?
Yeah. And how can we, maybe in our own ways, help make sure that these stories, the stories of the silenced, how do we make sure they're never truly forgotten?